Welcome back to GTA 3 with me, Longclaw Valerian Steel. This is Liberty City, and I'm playing the new Definitive Edition Trilogy, the very latest versions of these very classic games. This one, of course, is the first in the trilogy. It came out before Vice City and, of course, San Andreas, and it's a very old school classic game for me, this, and I know there's been a lot of talk in the GTA community about the bugs and glitches and things like that, which quite frankly were just left in the game and could have been fixed or patched or removed by Rockstar, and they just didn't do it. And heaven knows why Rockstar released these games without having checked these. We know that it was Grove Street that actually completed the rendering and the final versions of these games, but why would Rockstar release these games without having checked that or tested it? It just seems like a really sloppy thing to do, but nevertheless, they have now patched it, so you can get a free update on the console versions, and on PC it seems like they've relaunched the original trilogy as well as patching the Definitive Edition, which I guess gives people a chance to play the original versions, but I'm not really sure what the point of that would be. But the PC community has had a very rough time of it, so I think it's nice that they've been given at least some way of accessing those original versions of these games. Well, what do these games really play like, and how do they really look? Well, you can see here that the footage is very cool. It's very well done in terms of the enhancements. There are at least there were some small little issues I noticed. I was driving around in the city here, fell off a cliff and landed in the sea when there was no water there. Things like that. Little glitchy patches where you can find yourself doing something a little bit weird, or someone hovering slightly above ground level. I've seen worse in other games, to be honest. I remember when the Assassin's Creed versions started, the newer versions of Assassin's Creed games started coming out, they were full of bugs and glitches, and most of them still are. Red Dead is also another game that has been plagued with glitches and things like that, but I think the fact that these games are not cheap, no game is cheap these days, but we're talking 55 quid or something like that for the trilogy, 59.99 if you're in the States. It's not a cheap purchase, so I think people were mostly just upset that they purchased a game which didn't have a clean approach to it, whereas the original trilogy is just plagued with some of these things. And for me, I don't pay much attention to that kind of stuff. I'm more about just enjoying playing the game. That's exactly what I come into GTA for, is just to ride around and play. And I'm quite a positive person as well, so I figure that, the grumbling in the community is more about just flexing and moaning at Rockstar. And I see a lot of comments online and on my Twitter about people complaining about, who cares about the game, no one's playing it. I am, and I'm pretty sure that the free version of San Andreas, which is on the Games Pass at the moment, is getting a lot of attention as well. So where am I in the game? Well, I've just reached this point here where Salvatore has had a sit down with all of his gang bosses, and things are heating up, and I think this is where I'm sort of edging towards my first sort of quality of life upgrade, which is cool because I've been hanging around the laundrette for some time. This is a great game, actually. The story is really cool. If you're interested in mobster and mob history and stuff like that, obviously the game Liberty City is set in New York. I made some TikToks about this the other day that actually, interestingly enough, this is set in New York, and there are 5 boroughs in New York, including New Jersey, and in Liberty City that's the same. Each one of them is called something slightly different, but it's really cool. You get to see the differences as you change from one borough to another, or go to one district. A borough is like a district, and there's different cars, different people. Even the atmosphere seems to change as you move around, and even in this early Rockstar game, that kind of attention to detail was very evident. I can see a lot of the things that we recognise in the more recent versions and the latest Rockstar titles, like GTA 4 and even San Andreas, but also GTA 5 and GTAOnline. I can see a lot of that here, the origins of that in this game, to be honest. You can see now it's been enhanced. It doesn't look that different from what you expect. If I took that the icons and stuff away from the top of my screen and the map that clearly identifies it as Liberty City, I think I could convince people that I was playing GTA 5 or GTAOnline. They wouldn't know, because these games have been enhanced to such a point that when you do change from GTAOnline to one of these games, you're not going to notice a massive difference. Of course, they haven't made it look exactly like GTA 5. They've left some of the original characteristics, because each of these games, Vice City set in the 80s, this one I think set in the early 2000s, and San Andreas in the 90s, you want to have a certain feel to the game, that you're in a slightly different time frame, and a slightly different sort of place. But this is what it's all about, and that's one of the reasons why I love Rockstar games so much. So what is next then? Now we have this trilogy. I think we're waiting for the enhanced edition, which is going to be coming out quite soon, in the expanded and enhanced version of GTA 5. And I've made a lot of videos about why I think that is coming next, and why I think that is an important step for them. And it's, for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's about breaking GTA 5 away from GTA Online, because when GTA 6 comes out eventually, there will be this massive online GTA Online universe, which will include everything in GTA 6 and the whole GTA 6 map, but also the GTA 5 map and all the businesses that people now own in GTA 5. I have been playing this trilogy for some time now, and I'm starting to realise that actually it's one of the things I really love about all of these games is the stories. I'm playing missions, and there isn't a lot of that anymore in GTA Online. A lot of it is repetitive. You do the same thing. You're obviously robbing Cayo Island, or you're selling stuff in your business, but you don't get much of a story with that anymore. You do when you set up your business for the first time, or when you purchase a business, or when a DLC comes out and first time you go into the tuners, in the car meet or something like that. But once you've done that once, it doesn't happen again. You just show up. It's a public place. And that's what I think I've missed. So I've really enjoyed going back and playing some of these story missions. It's very chilled out. Of course, there's no public lobby, no one griefing. It's just you. So what do you think?